The 18 Strong Podcast, episode number 170 with Jeff Flagg, World Long Drive Champ of 2014.
Your ambitions, in the golf world, I think they really have to, your training has to match that.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzero.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where this week we're talking with Jeff Flagg. Jeff is the REMAX 2014 World Long Drive Champ, and he's got kind of an interesting story. Background in baseball, played in the minors, and then got into long drive in 2013, won the long drive in 2014, which is kind of crazy. But we talk today about just his concepts and what he's doing for himself personally to continue to work on his body and trying to come back and win a title. But also, what does he do to help, as he would put, build the armor of his body to prevent injury, to make himself stronger? And he's definitely got some different techniques and concepts that he uses in his training that he's learned over the past few years and has brought in kind of from his baseball background and other sports that he's going to kind of relate to things that you can try in the gym in order to help your body improve its resilience out on the course and just in everyday situations. We also touch on some of the equipment that Jeff has been using through a group called Pure Motion, and it's just some different pieces and adaptations to traditional strength training equipment and completely new ideas that help him work on his rotational forces, his different movement patterns, and creating more power in his swing that I think you're going to find interesting. And you'll hear me talk about going to watch some of his Instagram posts where you can see some of this equipment in action. Before we get started, I do want to say a quick thanks to our sponsor, as always, the PGA Tour mobile app. If you're not on the PGA Tour mobile app, you need to go check it out and put it on your phone. It's the easiest way to stay up to date on everything that's going on, especially now that Tiger Woods is getting back in the mix. We're going to be following him round by round, shot by shot, but this gives you the opportunity to go in, look at highlights, look at the shots, look at the different courses, where the guys are falling each and every week when you don't have a chance to sit and watch the whole tournament online or on TV. So go to your respective app store and make sure you download this, put it on your phone, put it on your iPad, wherever you need it, so you can keep up to date. That's the PGA Tour mobile app. All right, let's talk a little off-season training, some power training, some movement stuff with 2014 World Long Drive Champ, Jeff Flagg. Jeff, my man, welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, and thanks for coming on.
Man, thanks for having me. I'm super pumped. Been a listener for a long time, and I feel a little starstruck looking at your computer.
Right. Yeah, whatever. Oh man, it's an honor first to have you on, and we got so much to talk about because obviously we're kind of going into the off season. It's getting cold out. You're in Chicago, getting some snow up there. We're not quite getting snow yet here, but I know a lot of golfers are thinking about, what am I going to be doing over the winter time? And so we've got all kinds of things to talk about as far as gaining some speed. What do you do in the gym? But give us a little recap on, so 2014, you won the World Long Drive Championship. What have you been up to since then? Where are you working? What are you doing these days? And then we'll kind of jump into, some of the training stuff.
So, 2014 seems like it was so long ago. I got into it. I got into long drive in 2013, and to kind of have success that quickly, it was just kind of it's a whirlwind. I played minor league baseball, and you kind of grind and toil, and ride the buses and sleep in the trash hotels and I hung up the cleats and just wasn't. You're unfulfilled. You had a goal and you didn't make it. You kind of got to come to grips with it, and then to kind of step into this kind of step into the golf world and win the world championship pretty quickly was kind of crazy. And since then, just kind of trying to long drive has definitely been changing and growing and going through some transitions and trying to help hopefully be a part of building that up and popularity and, getting to do, these fun, exhibitions and golf events, going to meet people and be at courses I have no business being at, it's a blast, It's been fun to kind of see. I know, long drive was kind of ebbs and flows in popularity and things in the last, 15, 20 years or so and beyond. So, hopefully to, make it a little more mainstream and be a good ambassador for the, home run derby for golf is right. Kind of what I call it. So, yeah, it's cool to be a part of and cool to, get deep into the golf world a little more and more. So it's like I said, I'm enjoying the time, and wintertime's not not the best. I hate hitting inside, but it's kind of a necessary evil right now. But you can't take a break. It's speed doesn't sleep. So if you're not working for it, it's going to go away. So the wintertime, there's no excuses.
Well, take me back real quick, because I forgot that it was 2013 you got into the long drive. 2014 you win the world championship. So what made you kind of steer into that after baseball was done? By the way, your description of traveling and everything in the minors kind of sounds a lot like these guys on the mini tour. So I'm sure there's a lot of guys listening that can kind of relate to what you're going through. But walk me through just real quickly, what took you into long drive? Did you play golf prior to competitive golf or anything like that kind of got you into this whole thing?
I mean, I was self-taught, I was, as I grew up, what was I? I was 10. I was born in 85. So I was, to 10, 11 when Tiger came along, and then it's like, oh man, this guy's wearing Nikes, like this, hitting it past everybody. And it's like, made golf cool.
Yeah.
I was kind of a Tiger generation guy. So I was, hit wiffle balls in the front yard, like, just kind of whacking around. But I didn't grow up, we didn't have the means to, kind of country club kid or anything like that. So it was just sort of self-taught, trying to, copy what Tiger did. And my dad, I was a baseball guy my whole life. So, my dad was like, don't swing that golf club too much. It's going to mess up your baseball right. swing. But it was, up until, and I was a power hitter in baseball. So, I kind of, if I ran into it, I could make you pay. But I, swung at a lot of curveballs and dirt, but that power was my skill. So, and one of my main tools. So, getting drafted, playing college, getting drafted, all that was awesome and great. And I gave it what I had while I could do it. And then when I got done, springtime came around. I had to go back to school and finish my degree. And sitting there, it's like March, starting to get warm, and it's like, man, it's like I haven't had a spring off, in my whole life. It's baseball season. Yeah. And like, well, always, playing with the buddies, I always hit it past everybody, and everybody's like, you should try to do long drives. No, I don't think I can hang with those guys. Like, those guys are on ESPN. They're just like, yelling and screaming at it. Like, I don't have what it takes there. And then, I kind of, just kind of got into it and just like, might as well try it. I got nothing else going on. got to scratch that competitive itch somewhere. Yeah. And so just kind of picked it up and, kind of saw where my speeds were and was kind of in that, mid 130s range and was like, all right, well, let's give it a run. I had kind of zero expectations. I didn't really, I always thought, I always kind of default to, I'm not, I can't hang with those guys. That's kind of, but then that's, kind of part of it where, I think why I had success so quickly was it didn't, it didn't really faze me, going up against guys that were established in the sport. Like I was kind of out there like, hey man, let's see what we can do. And, you go to a couple events and go through the locals and the regionals and I'm like hitting it further than everybody. I'm like, oh, well, all right. Oh, let's, let's see what we can do. And making it out to worlds, my first year. And that's when I kind of sort of let things get, speed up on me a little bit, to use a baseball term. You always want to slow the game down. You don't want to speed it up. And, but that first 2013 year was I think I finished in the top 48, I think. So it was good, a good kind of foundation. And I kind of showed myself that I could hang. And then just kind of kept building on it in 2014, and then, like I said, it was kind of, just going through the the different, qualifying rounds and things. And then, you wake up and you're freaking world champion. So it's kind of crazy. So it's just, like I said, it's, since then, trying to prove that it's not a fluke. It's like that one time happened so quick. And then the last 15, 16, the last 3 years, it's kind of been, trying to get back to that. It's always harder to win the second one. So, just trying to, again, continue to just learn, about myself and my swing and what to, how to training and how to optimize everything and try to get another belt. So, I've been, getting closer and closer. So, competition's real good, and only getting better. So,
what was it about? Because you mentioned kind of jokingly that your dad said don't swing that golf club too much because it'll ruin your swing, your baseball swing. But what have you carried over from your baseball days, and what are some of the differences between the golf swing and the baseball swing in your eyes? And then maybe what are some of the similarities? Because you hear people with differing opinions on that.
So I think obviously from like a gross motor pattern standpoint, like they're very similar. It's just like a pitcher, a quarterback, javelin thrower. It's a rotational move. I think it's really a kind of a case where it's form follows function. Where I have a round bat and the ball's coming at me and I have to hit it in front of me. Like that's going to dictate a certain mechanic and the golf swing, the golf club, the way it's built and weighted and things. There's certain differences where I feel like it's, and obviously, going back to baseball, I don't want to have power to all field in golf. I don't want to hit home runs to right and left field on the golf course, which I do my fair share of anyway. But that where it's it's definitely a rotational move, but in that kind of impact area, I want to be as I guess square would be a way to say it as you can, where the body is obviously very rotational but that club face is not following the body, if that makes sense. Because baseball, you can kind of get away. You can get hits, not with your best swing, but especially in long drive, how precise we have to be. Mm-hmm. Really keeping that club face as square as I can, and not slinging it from the inside and hitting big old snap hooks. That's not where. Is it a couple miles an hour faster? Yes, but it's not necessarily what I want to try to do. Again, to progress, especially in these competitions, because you have to be not only long. That's kind of the prerequisite, but you have to be straight as well.
Yeah, we were talking before we start recording, and we kind of touched on this when Justin James was on the show too, just about giving people a little bit of perspective of what that grid looks like when you're up there. And you're kind of throwing out a stat that I think was on the Golf Channel. What was that again about the width of where you guys are hitting it and what it would be like for a normal Joe?
Yeah, so basically what they've kind of when you extrapolate kind of on from a speed perspective, how fast we're swinging and the margin for error that we have. So they related it to. So, amateur with a 100-mile-an-hour golf swing, right? And say, 140 plus, like we are in long drive, a 140-mile-an-hour swing trying to hit the 50-yard wide grid that we have in competition is the same as a 100-mile-an-hour swing trying to hit a 12-yard wide grid. So,
that's crazy.
Take your normal, what's a normal fairway? 30 yards, probably 35-ish. Basic, cut that in less than a half, a third. Try to cut your fairway in a third and see if you can hit that consistently. So, we get 8 tries, so that's obviously another variable to it. But when you take into account, under the lights and, the pressure situations and you're going kind of mano a mano against a guy and against the conditions, we don't have a lot of room for error. So that's where, like I said, from a mechanic standpoint, the precision, it's not only just, kind of, I used to call it baseball, you kind of back leg it, it's kind of like you think about like David Ortiz, right? You kind of sit on that back leg and just just spin and lift. There is definitely an element to that, but you have to have a little bit of that club face control to obviously, center punch it and hit a good ball out there, because you're not winning anything if you're not hitting it out of the middle of the club face.
Yeah, that gave me some pretty good perspective on what it entails, because you see these sky tracers, these shot tracers going off on the long drive, and you see a guy blowing off to the right or to the left, and you're like, man, that was terrible. But then you think like, oh, wait, if I was trying to hit a 12-yard wide fairway, that's a little bit different thing. So let's start talking a little bit about your training methods. And I know that you've taken not only just your baseball background, but one of your big concepts is taking things from other sports and utilizing what they've done, and then, what kind of training methods they use and how you can apply that, not just to yourself, but also people that you work with.
Yeah, I mean, it's just looking at human movement in general. I'm a nerd when it comes to just learning about. And again, I take most of my information. Again, I in my case, I come from another sport, and I played that sport my whole life, and I try to build on that. I don't want to completely forget everything that I did in baseball. It's some of those patterns are ingrained in me, and they allowed me to have some success. But taking learning some of that, and again, like I said, there's some things that are going to be different with the golf swing. Obviously, keeping the club face square, but we're all built the same. We all have the same set of parts. So I learn a ton from looking at sprinters, looking at these track and field guys, these tennis, and learning about pitchers and things where, I was reading, when you talk about, I was reading a study where the pitchers, the more force they can put in that front leg, the more they can on that land leg, the more force they can put in the ground, the faster they threw. So it's, that just learning how the body moves in these different, arenas, and, does that apply? Does that apply to my golf swing? Does that apply to what I feel like I can physically do? And if it does, great, use it, try it, like sprint work, these world-class sprinters, like watch Usain Bolt. Like I could literally watch him on a loop all day.
Yeah.
Like just watching how he runs and how synchronized and coordinated he is. And it's beautiful, and that's what everybody, you want your golf swing to be synchronized and coordinated and easy on the eyes, so, just trying to piece together and, look at athletes or look at body types that are similar to yours, where it's, I can't necessarily do what Dustin Johnson does or Usain Bolt does, because we are built differently. But, just like I said, learning how to move athletically, I think that the better quality mover you are in all sports or in all kind of realms is going to benefit whatever your goal is, whether it's golf or, tennis or just quality of life in general.
So what do some of the basics of your program consist of right now as we're kind of in, getting into the cold winter months? What does it look like for you? What are some of the things that you're doing? And then maybe if you could, how would that differ if it was, maybe somebody not training for long drive, but more just preparing themselves to be, to play better golf next season?
So basically kind of how I look at that is, your ambitions, in the golf world, I think they really have to, your training has to match that, and what I mean by that is, obviously long drive, like we're the extreme end of the golf world. We are, the 100-meter sprint. We are the home run derby. We are, longest, fastest. I won't say fastest, but the longest guy wins, So obviously we're on the extreme end. So the training has to support that. My training has to be, it's kind of some of the feedback of, I try to do more on social media about like my workouts and things. And everybody's like, oh man, it's so extreme. It's so crazy, like stuff that you do. And but for my body to hold up over a long drive season and to, for those tissues to sustain the speed that I need to create consistently, like my fitness routine and my training has to support that. That strength has to be there. So and what's interesting in the people that I work with, where again it's a lot of just normal golfers that want to hit a little further or want to play more. We do the same movements, and if I had a soccer mom, we're doing the same movements. Obviously the intensity is going to be a little different, but it's really it's that kind of coordinated, balanced athlete, and athletes on a spectrum. If you got a body, you're an athlete, right? So if it's all just working along the spectrum, where I'm on the more extreme end, but a regular golfer who just wants to play every day pain free, and maybe hits it a little further, like that's the same movement, just a little less intense from whether it be a tempo or a load or a volume perspective.
And you mentioned the idea of kind of protecting your body. You guys obviously are swinging at very fast speeds. You're doing different rotational movements, and your joints have to be able to withstand all this stuff. Your body has to be able to withstand this. Aside from just doing some of these motions at the high intensity speeds, are there other things that you do to kind of protect them or kind of build up their resiliency to some of these exercises and movements?
Well, that's kind of I think where I guess I'm kind of unique, where I don't do a whole lot of, I guess, quote unquote mobility exercises and things, where I see everything is together, everything is integrated. And what I mean by that is, in my workouts, the movements that I select are going to build my strength, but they're also going to improve or maintain my flexibility. They're going to maintain and improve my balance and stability and all these different characteristics. I want to do exercises that, encompass all of that together. And, kind of in my case, I've been lucky. And it's funny. I used to be, it's funny. It's almost like a different person. Like when, going through all the, traditional high school, college, not saying anything bad about it, but I used to be injury prone. Like I had injuries in my career that, changed the trajectory of my baseball career, and they could have been prevented, and obviously, 140 game minor league baseball season is a little different, than the from a, just stimulus perspective than, what I'm doing now. But I've had zero, ever since I've kind of, trained the way I currently train, I have had zero like soft tissue issues in 6 years. Probably 6 years. So that kind of, reinforces that, I feel like, what I'm doing is correct for me, and some of these considerations and some of these different, quote unquote different things, that unique things that I'm doing, are beneficial. It's like do I have hard data to back it up? Not necessarily, but it's one of those things where it's intuition, it's intuitive, where it feels right. It feels like I'm free. I feel like I'm using my whole body as one unit, one piece. I feel stable. I feel strong. And I feel like what I'm doing in the training is carrying over to what my goal is. Cause it's like, who wants to have, especially in the golf realm, like, do you really want, like, I call them popcorn muscles? It's like you look great. You're strong in the gym. You're the gym superstar. You're deadlifting a ton and benching a ton and all that. But then you go out and you're moving like a robot. It's like you try to run, cut, change directions, like rotate, like all these different things. And that's kind of where I kind of had to disconnect, as a baseball player, where I had to go through all the, I guess you could say traditional training, and me being a big guy, I'm 6'6", long legs, long arms, like the traditional weightlifting, just didn't serve me as well. I would always kind of have aches and pains and have to warm up and do all these things. But now it's like, again, I have these coordinated movements and loading the body in a way that is going to, enhance not only performance, but, joint range of motion, in a healthy range of motion, where it's not, I'm not trying to be Gumby at all, and things like that, but, and sustainable, it's a sustainable way to lift, because I love lifting heavy and the body obviously responds to that, but lifting in a way that's taking into account optimal joint alignment and optimal, force curves of the muscles and all that, all that good stuff. But it's, like I said, it's kind of, the proof of, me not being injured and be able to sustain performance for 5 or 6 years without doing any type of mobility is kind of shown me, like, there's, not to say any other way is right or wrong, but maybe there's something to this,
Hey, let's jump in here real quick and just say a quick thanks to our sponsor for this week's episode, Rad Roller. If you haven't heard of Rad Roller, we talk about them on the show all the time. They are some of the greatest soft tissue and myofascial products out on the market. If you haven't seen them, go to radroller.com right now and check them out. They've got the Rad Helix, the Rad Roller, the Rad Rounds, the Sphere, the Atom, all these different products to help you work on the different tissues of your body, your aches, your pains, your tight spots. If your body's not moving properly, we want to get those tissues moving so the joints, the muscles can do what they're supposed to be doing. So if your golf swing isn't looking the way that you want it to, or you can't get into a certain position, sometimes it's the fact that your body just isn't able to do that or isn't ready to move in that position. And the Rad Roller products can be a great way to start bridging that gap of going from the training room and getting the body moving the way that it needs to, activating the way that it needs to then making a better golf swing. So go to radroller.com. Check out all the different products they have, and when you're ready to buy some, put them in your cart and use the code 18STRONG to get your discount. Yeah, I think it's funny. I love the term popcorn muscles, first of all. And as a guy approaching the age of 40, I've personally started to really kind of appreciate how important it is to be able to just move better and, not necessarily worry so much about the aesthetics of what the body looks like. And yeah, we all want to look good in a bathing suit or whatever, at the gym, we want to, get a little bit of those show muscles. But for me personally, I played soccer, and, if I go out and I try to go play some indoor soccer or something like that, and I tweak a muscle here or there, it's like, well, what good is all this training that I'm doing if I'm lifting these weights or whatever? That's not going to serve me when I'm, running around the backyard with my kid and I pull up lame with a hammy strain or something like that. So being able to utilize your training in a more efficient way and to make your body move better. And I am, obviously we talk a lot about mobility on the podcast here, and we've had a lot of guests on talking about mobility. And I think there's a lot of things that I've done and incorporated into my training with clients, with myself, that have really helped to improve, the way that my body moves. But I think along the lines of what you're saying is you got to know what your body needs and how to coordinate that. What are some of the ways, because I know you kind of had this change in mentality and shift in the way that you're training, and what are the different things that you're doing? I know if you guys go check out Jeff's Instagram, you'll see some of the equipment that he's using, some of the different movement patterns that he's using, and you're going to see that he is taking his body into these different ranges that are kind of preparing him for what he does. But what kind of shifted your mentality there, and what are some of the things specifically that you're doing and using?
So long story short, I'll keep this as short as possible, but it was 2011, I think. And I was it was so funny because I'm sitting there is going into the off season baseball. I'm doing baseball lessons in Birmingham, Alabama. And, I'm just sitting there, and I love training. I was a clinical exercise major in college. I'm super close with all of my strength coaches that whether it be pro ball or college. I mean, there was, cause I was always the type that I love training. And I was always asking why. I was always, a pain in their behind, because I'm always like, hey, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Like, just because I wanted to learn, because I just love the training, because the training is the biggest part, for any sport. It's the behind the scenes stuff. The game is just kind of the cherry on top, but the training, the journey, just kind of seeing what your body's capable of, and pushing. Like that's the part that I love. And so I get introduced to this guy, Jorge Bonnet, in Birmingham, Alabama, from Puerto Rico, 5-time Olympian, and went to 3 Olympic Games in judo and 2 Olympic Games in the bobsled, the Puerto Rican bobsled team. So, and I think they made a movie about that. But the thing there that was super interesting to me is those are 2 completely different sports. Like judo is on your feet, grappling, rotational power, endurance type sport. And then bobsled is just straight go, straight as hard as you can go, as fast as you can go. And then you just go, and you're along for the ride. But what was interesting, and we just connected, we clicked right away. So, Jorge he's a visionary. He's kind of completely shifted my whole perspective, where looking at, building off the traditional training concepts and methods, the SAID principle, overload, all those different things, but tweaking the equipment in a way that allows you to train, like I talked about, a little more, that transfers a little more to your sport or to real life, and loads the body in ways that is going to, build complete strength, kind of a 3-dimensional, strength. Cause, I don't want to get too deep into, planes of motion and all those different, down that rabbit hole. But, looking at, not only you're looking at traditional training, a lot of it is, you're loaded straight up and down, straight north, south, a lot of it, it's just, and that's a product of the equipment. Like that's the barbell, that's dumbbells, that's gravity. Like that's what we're, working with. But what's interesting is you tweak the equipment a little bit, which is what he did. And it allows you to incorporate these different force vectors. You're basically creating force in all these different directions, which again, the end benefit is balanced strength. And that's not only, you can create force in all these different directions, but balanced strength from a joint by joint perspective. So it's like, I'm building strength in the whole kind of shoulder complex, the hip complex, the torso, the legs, all those different things. It's front, back, side. It's more balanced. And that, what I think when you're not only moving in these different ranges of motion and planes of motion, but you're able to load. That's where I've really seen a huge, not only me, but in the clients I work with as well, a huge kind of, opening where that's where the need for stretching and warming up kind of decreases a little bit, and again, to the point where, you don't need it. Like you're kind of always in a state of readiness. And that just comes from being able to load, looking at, where some, being able to load laterally, and not only just move laterally, but being able to load laterally, be able to load, everything. We're always talking about hip extension, right? That's the most powerful, movement we can do. Obviously hips are the biggest joint, strongest joint we have, but loading hip flexion, not only stretching, because we do that all the time. You stretch your hip flexors, you kind of, get, lunge, or you kind of kneel and you stretch your hip flexors out. But what about loading that? I've found that loading hip flexion, whether it be, hooking up to a cable machine or doing a, mountain climber with a slider, things like that, that's going to balance that strength out of that joint front to back. And then, that tension relationship, that the hip flexor doesn't get as tight anymore, when it's stronger, so that's been super cool to sort of, some of the nagging stuff that I used to have, especially being a rotational athlete, like, obliques get sore a little bit and then do all these things, but, trying to, rotate right to left to right, right to left with a tilt, left to right with a tilt, and all the, and kind of, I look at rotation like, like the DNA kind of, the DNA model where it's like, like a planet with different orbits, you got the moons orbiting it. That's kind of how I look at rotational training, where it's loading the body in all those different directions, not only, around north, south, east, west, but also, northwest to southeast, southwest to northeast, all those different, because that's, when you, golf swing is very repetitive, but when you're, moving in real life, you're picking up a box or something, or you're getting applying it to golf, or I got one foot in a bunker. I'm hitting it, it's above my feet. Like I have to be able to adjust these things. Like I don't want to, I pull an oblique and I'm out for a month, so building that, again, I call it kind of building the armor, and that's where you have that balanced strength around all the joints and structure where the muscles are doing the work, they're creating the force, they're absorbing the force, and it's going to take the stress off of the structure, the bones and ligaments and things and that's where you're going to get your performance gains. So you're going to be able to, go play 36, wake up the next day, do it again, wake up the next day, do it again, do it again, do it again. And that's where, people talk about, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but, people want to talk about, swing speed, right? Like everybody wants the magic pill. Everybody wants to try to, hey, what workout do I need to do? What's the 2 best exercises I need to do to increase my swing speed? It's a recipe, it's like your training has to, again, balance you out and build that strength. And then as long as the training is allowing you to go out on the course and hit 200 balls, 200 drivers at full speed, and do it the next day and do it the next day and do it the next day, like, there you go. That's how you're going to bump that top end speed up until you're at as fast as you can physically swing. Obviously there's mechanics and things that go into that as well. But, again, I look at it like a recipe, it's all these different factors. The human body is just so, and this, it's so dynamic, and you look at all the different muscle fibers and the directions if you don't have that creating force in all directions kind of perspective, I think that there's just, I won't say inefficient, but it's not complete.
Well, I think you leave yourself open to chance, because as you mentioned, every swing is not the same. No matter whether you're standing on the driving range and you take 10 swings, not a single one of those is going to recruit the same exact muscles the same exact way. Something's going to change a little bit. And then, you throw yourself one foot in the bunker, one out, or, you're hitting from behind a tree, or you got to punch a shot, or whatever it might be. Every movement, even every time you squat in the gym, every single time you go down, we always talk about grooving these patterns. And yes, we get better at that movement, but you're never, ever firing exactly the same muscles, neurons, everything the same way. So the more you can create that readiness and that awareness, and I like the visual of the DNA and the different angles and things just floating in space, because you have to be prepared in all different directions. It's not like you're just kind of chopping through this one little groove every single time. You just got to get good at that. And that's where I think the straight plane motion, very traditional stuff can, not get us to the right potential that we have, because we don't use that. So the equipment that you're talking about that you got introduced to Jorge, and I assume you're talking about the pure motion stuff. We haven't really even mentioned pure motion yet, but describe some of these pieces of equipment and what's different about them or unique about them. Because I watch your videos, and I mean, it looks like you're like sweeping the floor, mopping the floor. I think it's called the mop, I think. Yeah. So give us just a little description on some of the equipment before we kind of tie up the end here.
Yeah. So, it's basically, and I guess I'll something that kind of everybody hopefully is familiar with is, like, say, a landmine, a landmine setup, right? You put the barbell in the sleeve. We call it the Renegade, but the whole landmine setup, you put the barbell in the sleeve. So basically what Jorge has done is, a lot of people, as he's basically built attachments for the other end, for the user end. And so, if you can imagine, say a squat, for example. So I do all of our squats and things for the most part on that setup. So there's an attachment called the Warhammer that allows you to load on your shoulder. And so, if you think about orienting your body 90 degrees to that bar, so I can face forward and kind of drive off the balls of my feet, kind of like I'm, sprinting, kind of, taking off. I can face backwards, and I can almost like a decel angle. I can open my stance up and do more of like a sumo squat style. And, even though those are 3 squat variations, they're all 3 different muscle activations. That's, I think, what's been kind of really eye-opening to me is when you change the configuration of the equipment, the I can do a squat 17 different ways, and the muscle activation is different every single one. So it's, like I said, building that, and obviously you don't need to do 17 different squats per workout or per, but it's trying to get the, the forward vector, you call it, and then the backwards, and then the lateral vector. So it's basically, and then I use a ton of the cable machines, cable machines in every gym, and some of the attachments and some of the movement patterns with those, where you're attaching it high and doing different things, attaching it low, doing different things. You're standing square to it, you're standing lateral to it, and it's just, again, developing that entire musculature all the way around, trying to leave no stone unturned. And that's where, like I said, it's going to allow you to do what you want to do. That's kind of the idea. Training, you want it to give more than it takes. So trying to hit all these, you don't have to hit every single different thing. There's obviously going to be, you can throw some variation as you go on, progress with a program. But if you can kind of start throwing some of these different vectors into your, traditional training, just nothing against it. But, that's covering one vector. Okay, now let's cover, this one and that one. Let's cover the, kind of front and back or side to side, along with your back squats, your front squats, your power cleans, all those different things, and build a more kind of, again, well-rounded program and well-rounded athlete, overall. So, like I said, we can go down this rabbit hole for days. I mean, we can make this podcast 3 or 4 hours if you want to, but it's just, kind of opening up your perspective a little bit, where it's, you tweak the equipment, then the movements change, and then the movements change, then the activation and the areas that in directions you're creating force change, and and obviously whatever your goal is, try to match those up, and then that should help carrying over the training, strength and all that blood and sweat that you're sacrificing in the training in the gym, and carry that over to what you want to do.
Yeah, I saw somebody post the other day the quote, basically train movements, not muscles. And I think that just very simply really kind of boils down a very important point that, as a golfer, doing a press exercise, you're not doing that to improve your pecs. You're improving your pushing motion, or you're improving your stability in a motion like that. And what I like seeing in your videos and some of the stuff that you show is, these rotational motions, these movement-based exercises and drills that they're relatable to golf, they're relatable to baseball, they're related to all these different sports. And it's not just, we just had an episode last week where we talked about, basically 5 stereotypes of golf fitness trainers. And, one of them was the super golfish trainer, really always working on rotation, using rubber bands and stuff like that. But this is different because it's more working on power and moves as opposed to mimicking what you're trying to do in your golf swing. It's creating resilience in your body and building that strength, not just, okay, here's a position I want to be able to rotate into and hold and things like that. And I think that's kind of a distinguishing factor, is you're working on the movements, you're not working on the muscles, and you're not just working on mimicking what you think something should look like in your golf swing.
Exactly. And it's like, it's more of those gross motor patterns, the more broad, and everybody wants to talk about the ground forces and all those things. It's like, taking, for example, take the landmine setup again, like, say you're doing a one-arm press with the landmine, right? So out of a staggered stance, say my left foot's forward, pressing with my right hand, like even the interaction with the ground, like my back foot, my heel is up, I'm pushing off. It's not only that straight up and down, think about doing a squat, right? It's just straight up and down, where you are, it's not only, I'm not only moving north south, I'm definitely defying gravity, but I'm also that east west kind of friction with the ground. I think that's a huge part of, especially rotation, right? So you have, that, right-handed golfers, that left hip and foot is kind of pulling more out and around, while that right hip is coming down and through on the downswing. Like, those are opposing forces, that, force coupling, so it's that push pull of, obviously from the ground up, from your feet to your hips to your torso and upper body. I mean, and the more balanced you can be side to side, the more optimal and the tighter that rotation is going to be, or the faster your speed is going to be, and the more efficient you're going to be, and less wear and tear. So
it'd be kind of cool to see the reaction on like a body track system or something like that, doing some of those exercises, see what that looks like, and then even maybe how that relates to what it looks like in a golf swing, those kinds of things. So
exactly.
If you guys haven't, like I said, if you haven't checked out any of Jeff's videos, go check some of those out on Instagram, and we'll have all the links in the show notes and everything. But I want you to check out the footwork too, like the pivoting of the feet. It's very obvious that it's a very athletic movement. It's not just a standard static push pull. It's a very dynamic rotational movement, and the footwork is definitely key. Jeff, before we wrap up here, I want to ask you a couple questions that are coming. Mm-hmm. So I got to ask the first.
I'm a listener. I know what's coming.
Most important one. Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Man, I was thinking about this, and I was like, well, for what I do, I kind of have to say Happy Gilmore, but I think deep down I'm more of a Caddyshack guy.
Oh.
Because obviously I feel one with Happy Gilmore, since we're kind of somewhat the same dude. But I think Caddyshack is I can literally watch that on a loop. So I'd have to say if I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna have to say that Caddyshack is my vote on that one.
All right, we'll keep it under wraps. We won't tell the rest of the long drive guys. All right, now the next question, I like to ask the guys that are in the long drive competitions, because you probably actually have one of these. What's your walk-up song, or if you don't have one, what would your walk-up song be?
Well, we don't, and we need to talk to Golf Channel to fix that. I think that would be we need like wrestlers. We need we got the smoke already. We got that down, the lights, so we just need some personalized music. Again, coming from baseball, we had them, and I've had everything. I think my best year that I had Call Me Maybe. Remember that one? That was a dynamite jam. A few years ago. So, because it's all about the fans. You got to have, if the fans are into it, then it's a good song.
So yeah, present
Call
day.
Me Maybe is kind of timeless though. So I think I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna stick with that.
All right.
I had success with that. I'm gonna ride that out.
All right, that'll be in the show notes forever. Just warning you.
Timeless.
All right.
Carly Rae Jepsen is timeless.
If you could play 18 holes of golf with anyone, past or present, just an interesting person that you'd like to spend a day on the golf course with, who would it be? Where would you play, and why that person?
Oh man. I'm sure Tiger is the popular answer. But I think, I'd have to say Tiger or Kobe.
Wow.
I don't know what kind of golfer Kobe is, but just, not only, just from the, just that kind of killer mentality, and once you're at the top, how do you stay there? What do you, kind of how to kind of keep pushing yourself, to get the most out of whatever it is, whether it's, the business world or your physical attributes or, whatever skills you have. Those are two guys that are, super, super high end and super, obviously, the best at what they did. So that's my cop out. I have two of them.
It's all right. Two good choices.
Where would we play? Augusta, for sure. I still haven't been, which I grew up in Jacksonville, which is not far away, and I actually played in the minor leagues. There's a team in Augusta, so I've driven by it, but yeah, would love to go play out there with those guys. And that would be super cool.
I think two pretty good choices, and it's hard to argue with the Augusta choice, for sure. All right, man, what has you most excited with where you are, where you're going in the upcoming year? We're about ready to hit 2018. What's going on with Jeff Flagg?
Man, just, actually working with, it's kind of been a long time coming, but working with Pure Motion and building out a Pure Motion golf program, kind of going a little more in depth on, and more detailed on, kind of a few of the things we talked about today. again, I feel like it's really been honestly, it's been a gift for me, to be able to just happen to run into Jorge and learn the method and really, it's kind of turned my career around physically. Like there's something that, I can train as hard as I want for as long as I want. I don't see any slowing down. Age is just I'm only 32, but age is just a number. I mean, I got Eddie Fernandez, another long drive guy that I do some training for and with, and he's an awesome guy, friend of mine. He's 47, and he swings it just as fast, if not faster than me. So that's the plan. So that's that's exciting, and then obviously just trying to get out, trying to reach a lot of people with what I do, and hopefully have some success. We're gonna have 5 televised events this year, from what I've heard. Our schedule hasn't come out yet, but 5 televised events on the Golf Channel. So that's going to be super cool to hopefully make some noise in those, and just continue to kind of see how good, see how fast I can get. That's kind of kind of since day one. It's like trying not to have a whole lot of expectations and just try to see how good I can be, how far I can hit it. That sort of thing. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and again, hopefully we can hit 2018 running, and hopefully it's a good year.
Sounds good. Quick question. You got to keep the belt, right? Do you ever just put it on every now and then, walk around the house or take it anywhere, just kind of riding your buddies or anything?
I always get razzed a little bit for having that belt around, but no, like when I got to exhibitions and stuff, I'll bring it with me. Honestly, I keep it kind of tucked away. It's like one of those things where, obviously I'm proud of it. But it was also from, 3 years ago. Like I need another one. I need I need a new shiny one. So yeah, so it's, I always bring it around, going through TSA and things like that. Everybody, people think I'm like an MMA guy or like
yeah.
like a wrestler. I'm like, no, man, I just hit golf balls. But no, it's cool. It's I think it's unique. It fits, it fits what we do. It fits.
Yeah.
We're kind of a mix of golf and wrestling and and MMA all wrapped into one. So
you should come out in like a glittery robe next year, like Ric Flair style.
Just belt over the shoulder.
That's what I'm waiting for. All right, man. Any last piece of advice for the 18 Strong audience? Guys and girls that are out there just looking to get better, looking to get stronger, and looking to play better golf in 18?
No, I mean, we talked about a lot today. It's just, again, it's just keep, and I think the common theme of a lot of we talked about is just, keep an open mind when it comes to training. I'm sure, there's so much information out there. So, if there's things that we talked about help, that's freaking awesome, and I'm pumped, and hopefully that's the case. But even if not, when you're reading things or taking courses or things like that, just I think have an open mind. I think but also on the flip side of that, what the kind of the pure motion kind of methodology and perspective has kind of given me is kind of a North Star, and what I mean by that is that those are kind of the principles and kind of the founding philosophy that what I go by. And then if I run into something, hey, that fits, or hey, I tried that, and, it doesn't really fit, I don't really like it. Okay, I can discard it. I think that's one of the things I learned from baseball. Learning from different coaches and all these different things is know what worked for you, and to listen to everyone, but only take in and adopt to you what what's going to work best and what's going to get you closer to what you're trying to do. So yeah, and again, if I can help in any way, I'd be more than happy to whether it be DM or message or whatever. Let me know, and that's what I'm here to help. So
cool. We'll get you in the Facebook group and have if anybody's got questions, we'll have them pop in there and join us in there. We can start some talk.
Love it. I gotta get one of those cool 18 Strong shirts too.
Oh, you got one coming out. Tell you what, 18 Strong shirt with a picture of the belt around it. How about that?
Done.
Sweet.
Done.
All right, man. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and very inspired by what you're doing. Obviously, I love the content that you're putting out, and we're just excited to see what happens in 2018, and definitely excited to try out and head down to our buddy Clint Howard's place one of these days and check out all this pure motion gear and see how this stuff works.
Let's do it. Perfect. Then we'll have you come on and we'll get your experience with it and see how you like it.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, and you'll be hitting it 400 yards in no time.
Yeah. There we go. All right, man. We'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you so much.
You got it. All right. Thanks for joining us this week on the 18 Strong podcast. If you want any more information on Jeff Flagg, just go to the show notes page on 18strong.com. Search for Jeff Flagg, or episode number 170. You'll find it under all of those tags. And you can find out more about him, the pure motion equipment, and just what he's doing. You can find his Instagram handle there, where you can link directly to see all those videos that we were talking about. Quick shout out to Rad Roller and the PGA Tour mobile app for all of their support and sponsorship of this week's episode. And as always, I mentioned that we're going to put Jeff in the Facebook group, the private Facebook group that's called the 18 Strong Movement on Facebook. So if you have any questions for him or any questions for any of the other people that are in the group, there's a lot of past guests in there. There's tons of golf fitness professionals in there, and there's a lot of golfers just like yourself in there. So we want everybody to learn from each other's experiences and share the knowledge so we can all continue to build on this movement of training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. All right, we will catch up with you again next week.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.